Holy crap, you guys. Can you believe what we have seen at E3 so far? So I'm going to be discussing Sony and Microsoft's press conferences. We've seen a lot of great stuff coming out of the show this year. I don't know if you guys are going to be agreeing or disagreeing with this, but I got to tell you, this has been so far one of the best and most exciting E3s in a very long time, and it feels good to be able to say that. You know, E3 is just this wonderful thing where we all get excited and we want to see these perfect things and these great announcements and surprise reveals, and everyone has in their own head the perfect picture of what they're hoping to see announced. You know, like just like the video I made a couple of days ago where I mentioned the top 5 things I want announced just for me. And to see this show delivering on so many different facets, and everyone so far has been firing on all cylinders, just wow. This feels like the E3 that this generation has been needing since before the generation began, when they were trying to hype us up for these new systems and this new generation and everything going on, even going back to Nintendo first showing off the Wii U before it launched. This has been a lot of fun. Long story short, without getting too political or bureaucratic, it's been a lot of fun. It's E3, it's supposed to be fun, and that's what it's been like so far. So I'm going to touch on both Sony and Microsoft. I'll be doing Nintendo a little bit later when they show off Zelda at their treehouse, and that's the goods that I really came to the show for. But there is no doubt that I have been more than impressed and happily surprised with what we've seen so far. Okay, I'm going to start off with the most recent because it's the most fresh in my mind, and it's also, in my opinion, the best we've seen so far. Let's talk about Sony and their insane press conference. Now, as always, these kinds of things are subjective. You can tell by people's reactions on the internet so far that while most people are lauding Sony's press conference as one of the best, if not the very best we've ever seen, of course there's always going to be the detractors and the people who say, well, you know, all these things you're saying are so great, I didn't really find them to be that great. And that's the case with everything. So we have to acknowledge that one aspect. But I'm going to go into this from my perspective as someone who's a Nintendo fan first and foremost, but I love my PlayStation, I love my Xbox, I love my PC. Sony's press conference was absolutely spectacular, you guys. I am so impressed with and proud of what they've done. I mean, kudos, Sony, you deserve it, because you're known for very long, boring conferences with too much talking and uninteresting speakers, and it takes too long to get to the good stuff. And they've obviously had great moments in the past, but usually the whole package kind of dawdles here and there. And this year, they killed it. It was very uncharacteristic of them because they literally, the first half hour, I don't know if almost anyone except for, is it Sean Layden, the guy who came out first? The guy who came out to introduce the show, and then they just went into like 30 minutes of game trailers. And most of those game trailers also included gameplay. And it was all exciting stuff, lots of surprises. They did great. So here's what I need to do. First, I'm going to address my number one geek out moment of the show so far, from the beginning of this Sunday with EA all the way up until this press conference with Sony. My geek out moment has been, you guys know it if you've been watching any of my videos and you saw my top 5 reveals, they gave me my number one request. They have given us Resident Evil 7, and I'm just getting chills and just I have so much joy just thinking about it and talking about it. It was in the middle of a VR reel, and that's the only thing I don't love about this. But if I just remove that and I just put on my fanship hat, my fanboy hat, if you will, when they revealed that game, which was already interesting looking, I was like, oh, this is like a cool, scary experience. Like, my girlfriend and I were watching it together, super into what was being shown. We love scary stuff. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Kind of looks like PT, you know? It's like a scare. It's really great. It looks like Outlast. It looks like whatever. And then when they panned back and they showed the words Resident Evil 7, I wish I should have just done this with my girlfriend. She's been wanting to get on camera for so long. I screamed, oh my God! Oh my God! I can't believe it. It's actually Resident Evil 7. Just to see those words and like the Roman numeral 7 logo there. Oh my gosh, you guys. I was literally, I cannot overstate the truth of this, screaming with joy, couldn't grasp. I mean, like, my heart was beating. It's that exciting moment that everyone wants out of E3, you know, and next to Nintendo's best franchises, like a surprise reveal of a Zelda or a surprise reveal of a Metroid, something like that, Resident Evil 7 was the next best thing I could get. Of anything non-Nintendo, Resident Evil 7 was the game that was going to give me that freak out moment, and I got it. And I still don't even know how I feel about the game itself just yet based on what we've seen. Haven't had a chance to download the demo yet because it didn't show up in time for us to do so. But just as far as the trailer that they showed that was very interesting and engaging. No one knew what it was. We thought it was a new game. They show us the title. It's this game that I wanted so badly. It's exactly what E3 is supposed to do for people, for anyone, of any fan of any one game or genre. This was my game, and I got my game, and their reveal of it was perfect for E3. It was a surprise. And I'm just so happy that that happened, you guys. So that's why, I'm putting my fanboy lens is here as far as why I helped love Sony's conference, and it was that reveal of Resident Evil 7 was a huge aspect to that, you guys. However, it's not the only aspect. Even if we removed Resident Evil 7 and that surprise out of this show, it still was the best show we've seen so far. So let's talk about some of the other things they did real quick. They opened with God of War. Oh my God, so great. As soon as that chant, they opened with this overture from the orchestra pit that they had, and I love that they had the orchestra pit. Bear McCreary, who's a Hollywood and TV film composer, love that he's involved with the whole score for the game and for everything that they did at their press conference. That was very cool and classy. Even though Nintendo opened with an orchestra previously, they beat them to it. I don't want to downplay how cool it was that they did that. Excuse me. So they opened with God of War. Great surprise. I called it right away. Like I said, even the overture music made me realize, I was like, this is God of War music. It's going to be the first thing they show. And as soon as it started, I was like, is this maybe something else? Is this Naughty Dog's game? Is it The Last of Us? What is this? And, as soon as Kratos started talking before he even walked out of the shadows, I was like, that is Kratos. I don't remember the voice actor's name. I think his last name is White. I heard his voice and I was like, that is MF and Kratos. This is God of War. So they showed God of War. It's a very different God of War. There is part of me that's like, I kind of still want you to just keep being the God of War I always know, only more and better. But that being said, what they showed was awesome, you guys. I love that we're getting a more emotional approach. A very, deep, there's an emotional core, it seems like, with Kratos and what seems to be a son. He's trying to teach him the ways, but he's still Kratos, this older Kratos. I love the idea of seeing a different side of him. The fact that it's third person, hugging the shoulder kind of camera thing. I hope that that's not the whole game. And again, I kind of wish that they weren't doing that, because it sort of makes the game feel like any other action game. And one of the things I've always liked about God of War and the unique camera controls that Terminator Juice, who I do the podcast with, doesn't love this. But one of the reasons I like it is it does give God of War its own identity, especially in terms of gameplay. And bringing it to the behind the shoulder thing kind of removes that identity and makes it on the surface just like any other game. But I really don't want to focus on that aspect. I want to give the game its chance, and I am not going to take away what they showed, because what they showed was incredible, visually stunning. The action looked intense and a lot of fun, and I love what they're doing with this story of Kratos and his son. So, wow, what a great, strong way to open up the show. We needed this kind of game from Sony, first-party exclusive game for the PlayStation 4. Freaking pumped. So excited for God of War. Some other things, I just made some notes here of some quick things to go over. This is not in the order that they showed them. They talked about, they're bringing Crash Bandicoot back in some remasters of the first 3 games, which is awesome. Very excited for that. He's going to be in Skylanders. Okay, that's pretty cool, I guess. I wish that they were doing a brand new Crash game, but remastering these classics shows that Sony might be thinking about expanding their IPs that they actually have access to. Naughty Dog's old games, although I guess it is still an Activision thing now, so I don't even know. The Crash IP I'm confused about, but the game's coming. That's great. They showed The Last Guardian, and they actually showed new footage of The Last Guardian, you guys, and I'm someone who, while I'll make fun of how long this game has taken to develop and the stupid development hell of it, I still think the game is going to be great. If you remove the jokes you can crack on the internet and look at it as just a video game, it looks great. So they showed us new footage, looked great. There's more than one dog-bird creature. That was a cool surprise. I think it's going to be fantastic. It's coming this year, 2016. So how cool is that? We're finally going to be playing that stupid game. I can't wait. They brought out Hideo Kojima. What a cool thing that was. It kind of showed how Hideo Kojima is probably the luckiest celebrity in the gaming industry right now, that the bad times he went through actually made him more beloved by fans and people. He kind of represents this sort of free spirit and this breaking away from the shackles of big corporate business and becoming your own man and your own identity, and still successful and recognized and lauded as a great game developer. Even if his games aren't for everyone, he's still a talented, smart guy with a lot of creative ideas, and he was able to break off and make his own company, and it's going to make probably his success and his games even more successful than they would have been if he just was still the guy who worked for Konami. Even though it sucks we lost Silent Hill in all of this shuffling around. But it's cool how he's like he's treated like a rock star, the way he's revealed and walks down, and it was so cool, man. And then they showed his new game, Death Stranding. Yes, please. Yes, 1,000 times. Norman Reedus is back. What a great secret they kept, having Kojima and Reedus still working together. Obviously, with what they showed with him and the baby and all these things, seems like the initial concept of what PT and Silent Hills was going to be is making its way into this new project with Kojima and Norman Reedus and Kojima's new company. So, love what they're doing. Love the mystery. Love that kind of horror. What's the word I'm looking for? It's got like a disturbing aspect. I can't think of the other word I'm looking for, but this very disturbing, uncomfortable kind of vibe to it. And it just looks perfect for what those guys are doing. So, one of the best moments of the show, one of my most exciting projects that we've seen so far, even though it was just like a CG trailer, I still love what they showed. They showed earlier in the show and then closed with a game called Days Gone. And yes, it looks kind of like The Last of Us or whatever, but it looks awesome, you guys. What a great game to showcase. I think that was so fantastic. More zombies, I think, that I've ever seen on screen ever. And seeing them all run at you and at that furious pace, that wall of zombies thing, was super, super exciting. I'm very, very into what that game seems to be doing. And it's meeting a demand. People love those kinds of games. And yes, it's another game in that setting telling that kind of story. But it looks good for what it's doing. So I'm willing to be excited. I think that looks great. They showed Horizon Zero Dawn, actual gameplay. Sony had a lot of gameplay, as did Microsoft, actually. This was the good thing about today's press conference, is we actually saw a lot of gameplay. So they showed Horizon Zero Dawn. As I said on the podcast, I didn't mind the CG trailer they released beforehand because I believed that they were going to show us a lot of gameplay at the show, and they did. And it looks great. I love what's going on there. I think that this main character looks very, very interesting. The world looks great. The combat's awesome. The weird robotic dinosaur thing is very exciting. The world looks huge. I just think that they're doing a really cool thing with a unique, brand new IP exclusive to the PlayStation 4. It's a new IP that's exclusive to any console. That's what I think we need in this industry. So kudos to Sony for making this happen, man. They showed almost exclusively exclusive stuff today. And I think that Horizon Zero Dawn looks great. That's coming out in less than a year. Very excited. They did a whole VR reel. VR had a presence, on Sony and Microsoft stage. And I'm mixed because I do appreciate that there are interesting things that they seem to be trying to do with VR. I just still am not sold on it. I'm worried it's going to be the Kinect thing, and I can't get over the whole cut yourself off from the world around you to put this helmet on and just be in your own world. No one's going to come home from work and want to spend 3 hours of their gaming marathon time with the helmet on their head, especially if they have a significant other or they're married or they have kids, and it's like, sorry, not listening, and they just put the thing on and they're doing this thing. It's like, for short experiences and other things outside of gaming, like the medicinal purposes and military purposes, I get that VR is cool and it has its applications. But for real hardcore gaming and long marathon sessions, I don't know, guys. So that's why I don't love that it was incorporated into Resident Evil. And they showed that, that Star Wars thing, and some of my friends were like, oh, I bet you love VR now because of the Star Wars thing. No, I think that was a waste of a cool Star Wars idea to make this VR mission thing. I don't care. Now, they did show Call of Duty Infinite Warfare in this VR thing, and they showed this very long extended gameplay scene without telling us it was Call of Duty till the end. And what was great about that is even though they were trying to say, oh, look, VR is cool for this, I don't really give a shit about the VR. I will admit, they sold me on Infinite Warfare. Well, mostly. I should say they impressed me with Infinite Warfare. Coming from a Call of Duty fan, I've been very wary of that game, and then when they showed that gameplay, especially when no one knew it was Call of Duty at first, it was impressive, it looks great, it sounds great, the action looks furious, it's an exciting looking experience, so I'm totally willing to consider Infinite Warfare at this point. We'll see how it goes. They did a great job kind of masking that into their presentation in an exciting reel that had people abuzz, and as soon as it started, you're like, oh, I'm just into this because it looks like a great game. I wonder what this is going to turn out to be. And then you're like, ha, surprise, bitches, it's that game you thought you hated in your face. And I appreciate the kind of roundabout middle finger Activision was able to kind of sneak in there by showing Call of Duty that way, because everyone was probably really into it. From the reactions I saw while it was happening, people were enjoying it. And then they're like, oh, it's Call of Duty. It's that game that I thumbed down their video a couple of weeks ago because it was the cool thing to do. And yeah, so now I don't know what to say about it. And that was very clever. Very, very clever, Activision. Well done. So, and there's probably a plethora of other things I'm forgetting and brain farting that they showed, and I wish I could think of them. But those were some of the highlights All in all, their presentation was outstanding. Their content was incredible. They had some great surprises. God of War, Resident Evil, Days Gone, Death Stranding. Games we didn't know existed or were coming. We theorized about some of them, but we didn't know for sure, and we'd never seen anything on them. And they did it. They surprised us with great stuff. A couple new IPs in there. They talked about indies, I think, for a minute too. I mean, indies are whatever. They're everywhere, so we're not surprised to see them. It just was awesome. Sony deserves so much credit. So absolutely spectacular, stellar showing. Thank you, Sony, for giving me my geek out Resident Evil moment. Even though I doubt the game is exclusive to the PlayStation, just to see it on stage at your show made me so happy. And it was just everything my gaming nerd heart just needed out of life. So that's Sony. Microsoft, let's touch on Microsoft. Also a very, very good show. Not perfect and not nearly as good as Sony's, but absolutely a good, entertaining show. It was fun to watch. They didn't really have as much surprises, but just as far as what they showed, just like the last couple of years, it's been standard, excellent stuff. Here's just a bunch of games. And again, they showed a lot of gameplay. The theme I think we need to remember and take away from Sony and Microsoft and even Ubisoft's press conference is that this really did become the E3 of actual gameplay demonstrations, and I so appreciate that. Watching Bethesda and EA the day before, I was worried we were just going to get, this is going to be the E3 of CG trailers. And I was like, that's not okay. That's not exciting, and it's going to really disappoint me. Sony and Microsoft, and to another degree Ubisoft, really showed that, hey, we got gameplay to show you guys. These are our games for real. And so Microsoft did that. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Xbox One S and the Xbox Project Scorpio. Interesting stuff. So everything's been confirmed at this point. Scorpio is real. Neo is real. This is all things that are happening. But Microsoft had a one-up because they had another model of the Xbox. And so there's the Xbox One that exists. Later this year is going to be the Xbox One S, which is effectively the Xbox Slim, that's kind of what it is. It's much more powerful, 4K output resolution. It's got an internal power supply. There's larger hard drive models available. It's starting at a very affordable, awesome price of $299. Super cool stuff altogether. 40% smaller than the Xbox One, or maybe even it's 40% the size of, making it 60% smaller, one of the two, but they showed the size comparison. It's incredible. And I have an Xbox One sitting right behind me. I love it, but it's fucking huge. So I appreciate that they're making a true slimmed down version of this thing. It looks cool, and I think that it's a great thing for people to be into, and they should be excited for it. I'm not going to have a need to get one. I'm very happy with my Xbox One. It runs perfectly. I have no issues. I'm fine with it. The only thing I need is a bigger hard drive. But other than that, I think I'm fine with it. So, for what it is, it's cool, and I think people should look into it and consider buying it. It's a great value, and I think the Xbox One is an awesome machine that doesn't get enough credit. Now, the Scorpio, though. They announced the Scorpio for, holiday next year, 2017, year and a half from now. So that was a surprise, and at first we all kind of thought the Xbox One S was the Scorpio, but then they closed with this montage video explaining the Scorpio, and that it's a whole next year thing, and they basically bill this as the next generation, but also not the next generation. It's part of the Xbox One family. So there's basically three models: Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox Project Scorpio. Those are the three Xbox One family consoles. Now the Scorpio, all they talked about is it is going to devastate in terms of power. They said, we believe this will be the most powerful console available, the most powerful hardware available. It's going to be incredible. So they're billing it as exactly that. They're trying to say, all right, we're sick of being considered the ones who are not as good as Sony and the PlayStation. We're sick of playing second fiddle in power-wise to the PlayStation 4. And we know our consoles are already underpowered as is compared to PCs. And I think that they went all in, and they're getting the most expensive, most badass shit that you could possibly put in a console machine, and they're putting it in the Scorpio. And that's a huge investment. I think Microsoft, they just got fed up with it, and they're like, screw it! All the money, all the millions of dollars, all the manpower, all the PR, put it into this thing, make it fucking insane. And that's what I think that they're doing, to a degree. And, that's exciting. That's pretty cool. It's still weird to me, and I don't know what this means for the future. Phil Spencer was trying to word it, saying something to the effect of, we're trying to break down the walls of generations and go beyond the idea of a generation. Conceptually, I think that's really neat, and it's cool, and it's probably where the industry is going. I don't quite yet want to be there, but those baby steps have to happen, and I think the Scorpio is going to be that. I have mixed feelings on it, but if I just try to look at the Scorpio as just a unit and unto itself, it's a pretty neat idea, and I'm curious to see how, if anything, I'm curious to see how it's all going to play out. So that'll be very interesting next year. Very bold move by Microsoft to be doing this, and it's interesting. And you know what? It's the right kind of buzz and weird thing you want to see happen at an E3 show. So it's a great conversation piece. Now going to games, they started off with Gears of War 4. Not a surprise, not different than anything we expected it to be. But goddamn, does it look awesome. I'm a Gears of War fan, you guys, and this is everything I want out of a next-generation fourth entry in the Gears of War series. It's beautiful. The weather seems to play a huge impact on the gameplay and the environments and how the game plays out. I'm loving the new characters, Marcus Phoenix's son. They surprised us with an older Marcus Phoenix at the end of the trailer. So excited to see him back. And it was nothing more than just a kick-ass gameplay demo. Fine with that. Nothing more to say. Looks fantastic. Gears of War 4. Yes, freaking please. They showed Dead Rising 4, which was rumored, leaked, and then confirmed with a new kind of gameplay trailer that they showed at the show. So awesome. I am so excited for Dead Rising 4. This will be the first Dead Rising I've bought since the first one. And I feel bad that I've missed that series because I think that it's always been so great. And now I'm finally going to be buying in with Dead Rising 4. Looks fantastic. They showed a gameplay demo montage of ReCore, the game that was announced last year from some of the people who worked on Metroid Prime, my favorite game of all time. And I don't remember who else the other team. Damn it, I can't remember the other guys. But some of the people working on this game worked on the Metroid Prime trilogy. So hell yes, they finally showed gameplay, not a CG trailer. It looks great. It looks like a very fun, quirky, unique kind of experience, platformer action game where you're moving this unit into different kind of robots to allow you to control them to do things. It looks like a great, fun experience. I'm very excited for ReCore. I'm glad they showed us gameplay. Halo Wars 2, they talked about and showed. The trailer was awesome, and I love the Halo universe, but I don't know. I can't do strategy games, you guys. I don't think I'm smart enough to play RTS games, so I'm not personally too terribly into it. But it's cool that they showed it. The trailer was great. A neat surprise, Tekken 7. That was awesome. Did not expect to see Tekken come back. Tekken's old school, so I appreciate the return. The gameplay they showed was awesome. The trailer, Akuma versus Heihachi, looked great. And I think that's early 2017, February or so that's not too far off. Hooray for Tekken 7. They had a Final Fantasy 7 demo, and I appreciate that they did this because I think, did I say Final Fantasy 7? Sorry, Final Fantasy 15. Final Fantasy 15 demo. I have so many notes and numbers and shit in front of me. Final Fantasy 15 demo looked great because I think Final Fantasy 15 looks great. And I think that it's interesting because that, and then also they had Scalebound. Hideki Kamiya came on stage, which I called in the podcast. He came on stage, played this huge boss battle from Scalebound. People are kind of down on that, and I thought it looked cool. It was just a big boss battle. I think the game is going to be great. I'm very excited for it. Platinum doesn't make bad games, so until they officially do make a bad game, I'm going to believe in whatever they're doing. I think Scalebound looks very cool. I thought the demo was cool enough, but I think it's interesting because they had the guys come up to do Final Fantasy. They had some guys come up to do Scalebound. And another game that is now escaping me, but they had a couple of Japanese developers come up and address the Microsoft audience and do some game demos. And I think that it was really cool that Microsoft got some Japanese developers on stage. They're not known for doing that, and Japan notoriously ignores the Xbox brand. So great to see them working really hard to get that support and show that it exists and exhibit it on stage. So it was really, really cool. Final Fantasy looks cool. Scalebound looks cool. And then they had a bunch of indie showcase games, just like Sony did. And again, I don't really get into the indie stuff, but they did show some good games, just like Sony did. And that's, again, those are the quick bullet points I could think of and trying to remind myself of what they showed. They showed like Forza Horizon 3, whatever. Gosh, is there anything else I can think of? I don't know. All in all, a good show. And not even just a good show, a really good show. I'm very impressed with Microsoft. Again, they didn't quite do what Sony did. Sony was really impressive, but they had a great show. They had an engaging show. They showed great games. They showed great gameplay, and they showed, a couple of surprises, and I thought that was really cool, Tekken 7, Dead Rising 4, these were games you didn't know to expect, and the Xbox One X and the Scorpio, that's huge, huge news. Very, very huge news. So, basically, Sony and Microsoft killed it. And I'm very happy to report so. I was a little bit nervous coming into the year. I was a little bit nervous after yesterday's showings with EA and Bethesda. Even though I liked Bethesda's conference, I was like, I just don't know how much great stuff we're going to get out of this year's E3. I'm starting to get nervous, and Nintendo's only showing the one game. Yes, the best game ever, but that's it. They don't even have a conference or a direct. Is this E3 going to be just okay? And boy, was I wrong. You guys, my personal opinion, you can disagree. You know, this is just me. You watch me to hear my opinion. I think it's been awesome. Sony and Microsoft, wow. Kudos to you. Bravo. Thank you for having good showings. Thank you for showing gameplay and not CG cutscenes. And thank you for some amazing surprises. I'm so happy with E3 so far. And I just know Nintendo's going to kill it. So that's where I'm at with that stuff, guys. It's been a lot of fun so far. Please share your thoughts about Sony below, Microsoft below. Do you like their conferences? Do you hate their conferences? Did Resident Evil 7 get you excited like me? What do you think of God of War? What do you think about Gears of War 4, Dead Rising, Tekken, Halo Wars, Death Stranding, Last Guardian? All this shit. So many good things to talk about, guys. We didn't see Naughty Dog's game, by the way, which I'm really disappointed with, but that's okay. It's been a great show. Talk about the conferences. Tell me what you think. I will be very soon making a video wrapping up Nintendo, them showing off Zelda and everything going on there, which I cannot wait to do. Of course, I'll be on the podcast later on Tuesday discussing Nintendo and Zelda and everything happening there as well. So that's pretty much it, guys. You know, keep enjoying E3. Keep having fun. What a great time we live in. And this is Rob of Rule 2 Review. I'll catch you guys next time on another video.